Good morning, everyone. Buddha's birthday in April and Buddha's Enlightenment Day in December and Buddha's Parivatta Day in February are the three most important annual events in all Buddhist traditions. So here we also celebrate Buddha's birthday and Enlightenment Day in our tradition, usually on December 8th. But this year we had Rohat session until 8th, last Sunday. So today we celebrate Buddha's Enlightenment. On those three occasions, when I give Dharma talks, I talk either about those three important events in Buddha's life from Pali Nikaya, or what Dogen said on those occasions of celebration. This year, I'd like to talk about another short sutta from Pali Nikaya about Buddha never taught the experience of enlightenment. I don't know why, because it's too difficult to express using words. But he talked about difference between before and after that experience. And in many suttas in Pali Nikaya, Buddha said, it is said, when Buddha was sitting under the Bodhi tree, he conquered Mara, and he became a Buddha. And Buddha himself said, Mara is 5 skandhas. So he conquered 5 skandhas. And there are many suttas he talks about this, what conquering 5 skandhas means. And I think it's a good news that Buddha conquered 5 skandhas at Mara and become enlightened. Because we have the same 5 skandhas with Buddha. So there's a possibility that we can have same transformation, even though it might be difficult or almost impossible. But at least we can experience what he tried to do. And that is what we did during 7-day Rohat session. When we are sitting here, we sit in this zendo facing the wall for 14 periods a day. So there's no object. Only thing there is this 5 skandhas. 5 skandhas means rupa or material, that is our body, and sensation or feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness. So those 5 skandhas means our body and mind. And during that 7-day, during session, we just be 5 skandhas, or our own body and mind. There's no outside object we have to deal with. So that is what we do. So what we are doing is what Buddha did while he was sitting under the Bodhi tree. I'm not sure if we had the same result or not. Maybe not. Anyway, this sutta is another short sutta Buddha taught about the difference between before and after his enlightenment experience. And this is also about 5 skandhas, our body and mind. The name of this sutta is phases. This is from Saṃyutta Nikāya. And if we want to check on this text, this is volume 1 of Saṃyutta Nikāya, page 895. The name of this sutta, that number is 2256 of Saṃyutta Nikāya. The title of this sutta is Phases of the Clinging Aggregate. Phases of the Clinging Aggregate. Clinging aggregate is translation of skandhas, and clinging is a translation of upadana. So, 5 skandhas or 5 aggregate in English are sometimes called 5 upadana skandhas, or 5, and upadana means clinging or attachment. So 5 upadana skandhas is in English 5 skandhas of clinging or attachment. And Buddha said there are 4 phases of 5 upadana skandhas or aggregates. Let me read in the beginning of this sutta. At Savatthi is the name of the city. Bhikshus, there are, this is Buddha, there are these 5 aggregates subjects to clinging. It said 5 aggregates subjects to clinging. But in this clinging, both subject and object, in this case subject means object, right? I think. Anyway, subject and object of clinging are both 5 skandhas. There are no other things. So 5 skandhas cling to or attach themselves to 5 skandhas themselves. And fat 5. And Buddha said those 5 are form, sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness. Those are 5 skandhas. But I think we should put, before those 5, we should put upadana. Upadana, form, upadana, sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness. So what he's talking about all about upadana skandhas. I think this is an important point, otherwise we become confused. So those are 5 skandhas of clinging. And Buddha said, so long as I did not directly know, so long as I did not directly know as they really are, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging in 4 phases. So there are 4 phases in these 5 skandhas of clinging. I did not claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world. But when I directly knew all this as it really is, then I claimed to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. So to really directly know what these 4 phases of 5 skandhas is the difference between before and after his enlightenment. This is, I think, same thing was said by Buddha in other Pali Nikaya. So this is a similar teaching. So before his enlightenment, he didn't really know, directly know what are these 5 skandhas of clinging. But when he directly and clearly know what are these, then he claimed that he became Buddha and attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And what are those 4 phases? Buddha said, and how are there 4 phases? I directly knew form, for indication of form, and second is its origin, and the third is its cessation. And fourth is the way leading to its cessation. So you may understand what Buddha is talking about, the same format of 4 Noble Truths. Suffering, cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So he is talking about the same thing, about cause and result, and cause and result. So he kind of repeat the same way of observing things as when he sees about suffering and cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the way leading to the cessation of suffering. And he said this is the middle way, or Eightfold Noble Path is the way. But he talks about each of the 5 skandhas in this sutta. And about the first one, form, Buddha said, the 4 great elements are the form derived from the 4 great elements. 4 great elements are, let's see, Chi, Sui, Ka, Fu. These are called 4 great elements. Chi is earth, Sui is water, and Ka is fire, and Fu is wind. Earth, water, fire, and wind. When they are called 4 great elements, they are not actual earth, water, fire, and wind, but these are the 4 elements of our body. For example, earth is something solid and hard, like our bone. Our bones are called earth element. And water is like blood and other kind of water in our body is called water element. And the fire element is the heat our body has. And wind element is movement. Everything is moving. So those are the four elements of our body as a rupa. This is fat rupa or form is. So this is called form. With the arising of nutriment, N-U-T-R-I, nutriment. It's like a nutrition or food. So with the arising of nutriment, there is the arising of form. So when there is some food or nutrition, this body becomes our body. Then, with the cessation of nutriment, there is the cessation of form. So when nutriment ceases to be, then form ceases to be. Here, I think it's important. This is not our body itself, but this is about the clinging or attachment to our body. That means this is the cause of my confusion. When nutriment is there, then our body is formed and grow and maintain this our personal body. So this nutriment is something like a life force, and or everything that coming and going, such as food, water, and everything. But if we understand in that way, then we are confused, because this is not the cause of body, our actual body, but this is a cause of our upadana, clinging. Otherwise, when, and the next thing is, we said, with the cessation of nutriment, there is a cessation of form, and he said, this noble eightfold path, noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of form. And he listed up those eightfold paths. When I first read this means eightfold noble path is the way to kill our body. And that is strange to me. At least, when night before he started to sit under the Bodhi tree, he received the food. Before that, he practiced very strict ascetic practice. He didn't eat good food. But he thought that is meaningless practice, so he received food from the village girl, and he in a sense, restore his energy of his body, and he started to sit. And he said, this is the middle way. Middle way means the way between two extremes. One is self-indulgence, and another is self-mortification. And he said his ascetic practice was self-mortification. But if his eightfold noble path is to kill our body, then I think the ascetic practice was much more effective. I think so. So if we read this form and cessation of form, and we think this is a cessation of our body, our life, as this body, then I don't think Eightfold Noble Path is the right way. But this is about clinging to our body. So this nutriment is the nutriment of our attachment, our clinging. So what is so nutriment is not the food or water or air in general, but the nutriment of upadana is our delusion or ignorance. Otherwise, it sounds like he is negating our life. So cessation of life is a good thing. That if that is enlightenment, then his teaching of Eightfold Noble Path and his action of receiving food to take care of his body is against his teaching. So I think this is really important point. He's not talking about our physical body itself, but he's talking about our attachment to this body. So Eightfold Noble Path is the practice that lead ourselves to the cessation of attachment or clinging to our body, our form. And he continued, whatever ascetics and Brahmins, I think these means refers to Buddhist monks. So this is not ascetics like the practitioners who practice like Shakyamuni did before he sitting under the Bodhi tree. Having thus directly know form, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, are practicing for the purpose of revulsion, revulsion, toward form, for its fading away and cessation, they are practicing well. Those who are practicing well have gained a foothold in this Dharma and discipline. So he's talking about his experience under the Bodhi tree and how he became enlightened and became Buddha. And here he's teaching his disciples to practice in the same way. And this is about the first skandha, form. And second is sensation. And the third is formation. About these skandhas. Second is sensation. Third is perception, and fourth is formation. About these three skandhas, Buddha said the cause is contact. Contact between self and six sense organs and the object of six sense organs. When subject and object encounter, we have already sensation. And from sensation, we have perception. and formation. So when there is no contact between six sense organs and the object of six sense organs, sensation, perception, formation cease to be. And the final thing is consciousness. Consciousness. About the consciousness, because I don't have much time, I have to skip middle three. About the consciousness, Buddha said, and what is consciousness? This means what is clinging or attachment to the consciousness. Buddha said, there are these six classes of consciousnesses, six classes of, or six kinds of consciousnesses. That is eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. These six kinds of consciousness appeared in the Heart Sutra also. So there are those six kinds are the consciousness. That is what consciousness is. So this is called consciousness. With the arising of name and form. It says name and form. In Pali or Sanskrit, that is nama rupa. Nama is name and rupa is form. So with the arising of nama rupa, there is the arising of consciousness. And this nama rupa are object. And this is consciousness. Consciousness and object of consciousness is called nama rupa, name and form or material. That means this is according to one Japanese very great Buddhist scholar whose name is Hajime Nakamura. This nama rupa is used in different meaning in the 12 links of causation, but in all the text, this nama rupa, as I said, refers to the object of our six sense organs. And this means, each, I think I often told, each and everything that become the object of us has name and matter. In this case, this is blue marker, that is a name, and this has a material element. This is a plastic. So this probably before become marker, this was their oil. And when this was produced at the factory, this become marker. So this thing get the name a marker. And so I use this as a blue marker. So this is a combination of name and matter as a plastic. And this name means refer to the relation between this thing, this material, and this person. I need to write something on the whiteboard, therefore I call this a blue marker, and I think this is useful. But this matter is not always permanently blue marker. This is blue marker after this was manufactured at the factory and until the ink is dried up. When I cannot write anything using this material, I change the name and this thing becomes something else called garbage, and I put it in a trash can. So this matter is not always blue marker. Blue marker is a name only while I can use this thing as writing. So this thing, blue marker, this thing as a blue marker is impermanent. It's always changing. But blue marker as a concept is always the same. Blue marker, I don't think there is blue marker 10,000 years ago. But as a concept, this doesn't change. And even if this cease to be a blue marker, still blue marker is its own self-nature as a concept. It doesn't change. But actual thing can be blue marker only certain limited period of time. And so this when we call this object as a nama-rupa, name and form, or name and matter, this is, we are talking about a relation between this person and this thing. So if when I don't talk in this Zendo, I don't care about this is a blue marker or not. But only when I give a talk and I need to write, this becomes blue marker. So this relation is also changing depending upon who I am. Now I am a speaker, and when I speak, somehow I need to write something. That's why I need this blue marker. So as a subject, me as a speaker, this appears as a blue marker. But when I do something else, this ceases to be a blue marker, and I don't need this, and I don't care. I completely forget about this. So, when Namarupa disappeared, this disappeared as a blue marker, as a Namarupa, then the subject that is a speaker also disappeared. And when I do something else, then I become something else. Like when I'm cooking, I'm a cook, and there are food and other things. Those are become Namarupa, an object of me. So things are changing. So subject and object is not fixed. It fixed only within our thinking. That is what Buddha is saying, I think. With the arising of name and form, Namarupa, there is the arising of consciousness. So my consciousness starts to work as a speaker now. With the cessation of name and form, Namarupa, there is the cessation of consciousness. Then this ceases to be a blue marker. Then now I forget about this. Then my consciousness, that is the subject of this object, ceases to be. This Noble Eightfold Path is the way leading to the cessation of consciousness. when I talk about another sutta from Stanipata, I talked about the same kind of teaching. And what Buddha said, Namarupa cease to be when we are without ordinary consciousness. I think he used the word perception. Without ordinary perception, without disordered perception, and without no perception, and without any annihilation of perception, Namarupa cease to be. That means, and when I read that sutta, I thought that is what we do in our zazen. When during our sitting, all kind of thoughts are coming and going, and yet there's no object outside of ourselves. Of course there are all and everything, but we don't think they are the object of person sitting. But all different kind of thought and imagination or memory or whatever is always coming and going, and often those things become object of this person sitting, and we start to interact. This is how Namarupa, how our thinking become Namarupa when we are sitting, and that is only Namarupa we have during our zazen. But by letting go of thought, that means we stop this interaction between all different kind of thought coming and going and person sitting. So this person sitting stops to be the subject, and those thoughts cease to be the object. This person is simply sitting, and those different various kind of thought is just happening. It's not. It's happening within our mind, but I don't think. By letting go of thought, things are going, and yet this person is not thinking about them. It's happening, and this is a condition or time. Namarupa cease to be, and when Namarupa cease to be, the consciousness also cease to be. I think that is what Shakyamuni said. So that is how we become free from clinging to the object that is Namarupa. And that is what in the Stanipata and also in this short sutta, that is what Buddha taught. And Buddha said that is his the difference between before and after his enlightenment. But I think in Mahayana Buddhism, and especially Zen teaching and Dogen's teaching, how can I say, the teaching became more developed. That means when we letting go of thought or opening our hand, then there's no separation and interaction between self and others, or subject and object is ceased. And I think Dogen called this dropping of body and mind, dropping of 5 skandhas. Then how can we express these things happening? I think is the very important point of at least Dogen's teaching. Even this relation between subject and object, or consciousness and Namarupa, still these 5 skandhas are here, whether sitting or doing something else, and they are object. Things are happening inside and outside ourselves. What are these? They are not Namarupa. And I think that is what Dogen says in the very beginning of Genjo Koan, when all beings, all myriad dharmas are Buddha Dharma. So that means, this consciousness and Namarupa, when they have a contact, we have a problem, and our life becomes suffering, and we transmigrate within samsara. But when we stop, doing this, Buddha said there's no contact, and there's no separation between subject and object, or consciousness and Namarupa. Then, all these things, there's no separation. All these things happening within our five skandhas and happening outside of our five skandhas, and things happening between our five skandhas and all other myriad dharmas are become Buddha Dharma. So when Namarupa ceases to be, everything become Buddha Dharma. That means the Dharma things free from clinging, free from attachment. And that is when, Dogen could say, for example, the sound of Pali streams are Buddha's voice, and the colors of mountains are Buddha's pure body, immaculate body. If those are Namarupa, then we start to walk the same path. Even though those are, the sound of Valley stream is Buddha's voice, but somehow I cannot hear other Buddha's voice. So why? So how can I hear that sound as Buddha's voice? I have a problem, and somehow I want to make change. That is already in the path of samsara. But those expression, very poetic, beautiful expression about everything is expanding Dharma. I think our relation between consciousness and Namarupa, or subject and object, should be transformed. Otherwise, those teaching or those poetic expression became Namarupa, and I love them, and yet I don't see or hear the sound in the nature as Buddha's voice. And we start to, suffer. How can I hear, them as Buddha's voice or Buddha's teaching? So both things should be, in a sense, cease to be. Then subject and object are function as one thing. That is, by Dogen called Zenki, or total function. Within total function, this entirety of five skandhas and entirety of network of interdependent origination function as one. On that basis, Dogen could say everything expressed Dharma, or everything are Dharma. Even what happening inside of ourselves are Dharma. So, this is a really important point. Otherwise, we think that is another kind of opinion or viewpoint or teaching or thought or philosophy, that everything is Buddha Dharma. So important point is this separation and relation between consciousness and namarupa, or subject and object, cease to be, and this entirety function as one. As I always said, the koan about whether the wind bell rings, or the wind rings, or our mind rings. And Buddha, not Buddha, but Dogen negate all three possibilities. But he said this entirety, entire network is ringing. But in the early Buddhist teaching, only cessation of suffering, or only the namarupa cease to be, is mentioned. Then Buddha repeated, whatever ascetics and bluff means, having thus directly known consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, are practicing for the purpose of revulsion toward consciousness, for its fading away and cessation. They are practicing well. Those who are practicing well have gained a foothold in this Dhamma and discipline. So this is Buddha's teaching, how his disciples should practice about their own body and mind. So to me, important point is, as Buddha said, our 5 skandhas are Mara. Our body and mind is Mara. But by this kind of experience, we become, so this Mara means this upadana, clinging, is Mara. It's not 5 skandhas are as they are, is Mara. That's why Buddha didn't kill the 5 skandhas. If he killed his 5 skandhas, then he killed himself. But his 5 skandhas as Mara was transformed as Buddha's body and mind. And the rest of his life, his 5 skandhas function as Buddha's body and mind. Without his body and mind, 5 skandhas, he couldn't live as Buddha, and he couldn't teach. So it's important to keep the 5 skandhas in a good condition. That is what middle way means. So our life is not negation of our 5 skandhas, but the way our Eightfold Noble Path, our middle way, is the way we take care of 5 skandhas in a healthy way. Try not to use this as a Mara. To me, this is a really important point. The problem for us is, in Dogen's teaching, our zazen practice is a kind of a turning point or pivotal point of this transformation. But in the case of Buddha, when he sat under the Bodhi tree, this transformation was so thorough and decisive. So he could live as a Buddha the rest of his life. But we are so immature, even though we transform our 5 skandhas as Mara to, in Dogen's expression, as prajna. In Shobogenzo Makahanya Haramitsu, he said 5 skandhas are 5 instances of prajna. So this transformation is happening, but next moment we return. So that's why we have to keep practicing moment by moment, day after day. So we are very kind of immature children of Buddha as a bodhisattva. So, and also as a kind of bodhisattva practice, or as our bodhisattva vow, we have to stay in samsara to work together with all beings. In order to do so, we also need 5 skandhas. Even though 5 skandhas often cause problems. But we need to be patient. We are always back to samsara, and that is okay, because we are bodhisattvas. That is where we need to work. But to understand what Buddha taught and what the condition of cessation of suffering can mean, that is nirvana. So our practice is living within samsara with these 5 skandhas. That can be always mala, but we take a vow to use these 5 skandhas as Buddha's body and mind whenever possible, or at least we try to return to that point. I think that is what we do as Buddha's children. Therefore, I think it's important what is the difference between before and after Buddha's enlightenment. Well, this is what I have to say this morning about Buddha's enlightenment. Any question or comment? Because we have a ceremony, we don't have so much time to do question and answer, but please.
So in Buddhist studies at the university, one of the things that people like to talk about is sort of what is the nature of the Buddha, like what was it like being the Buddha after his awakening. And for me, one of the things that I appreciate about Dogen's teaching and this lineage's teaching is it puts emphasis on the idea of zazen as this pivot, like you mentioned, but we also have to come back to samsara.
We don't need to have to, we naturally do.
Right. But it seems that in early Buddhist teachings, they want to say that you don't have to come back, you can actually somehow stay in that state forever. But then if you really look at what it would be like to be like in a zazen state all the time, then they say stuff like the Buddha was like a thermometer. So he's able to somehow react to stimuli, but without actually like feeling or doing anything with them. So I wonder if you have any thought, like do you think it's possible that the Buddha, like that a person could somehow really be in a state of not contacting namarupa permanently, or is that just kind of an ideal that was created to encourage people?
I'm not sure if possible or not, because I've never been there. But as a Buddha student or as a Buddhist, we have a faith that at least one person, Shakyamuni, did. And as a Bodhisattva, even those great Bodhisattvas like Manjushri or Avalokiteshvara, they are not practicing to become Buddha, and yet they have not achieved that goal. But as their vow, intentionally they don't become Buddha. So, for example, Avalokiteshvara is called Ichantika. As his vow, he decided not to become Buddha. So he will never become Buddha. And that is another kind of role model for us Bodhisattva. It might be possible, but we intentionally not go there. Okay, please.
I think I remember a story about Buddha after his enlightenment,
Mhm.
that there was a war in his country, and
Mhm.
he suffered,
Mhm.
knowing that his
Yeah.
country was being
Mhm.
fought,
Mhm.
this battle. And so I'm wondering, does that indicate that he was not in that permanent zazen state, like Doji was
I'm-
saying?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But at the moment of his enlightenment, he entered nirvana.
Mhm.
But when he died, he entered parinibbana.
Mhm.
There is a difference.
Mhm.
Nirvana, before his passing away, is called
With residue.
residue. Yeah, nirvana with residue. Residue means because he had 5 skandhas.
Yeah.
He had some difficulties,
Mhm.
some physical difficulties when he didn't receive food,
Mhm.
or I think also some mental difficulties.
Mhm.
For example, when his crown was all killed. So I think what is the word? He's not like how can I say, completely blank,
Mhm.
but he could feel, his own and other people's suffering.
Mhm.
So, but he himself was free from clinging to his own 5 skandhas,
Mhm.
I think. So his enlightenment didn't made him a kind of what is the word? A person without now feeling.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Please.
When you were talking about this, practice where there's no subject and object, where the, it reminded me of several other parts of the teaching, like in the Heart Sutra, where it says, the mind is without hindrance, no hindrance, therefore no fear. Would that be describing or sort of mentioning that state where the skandhas are no longer blockages or no longer...
I think so. So the Heart Sutra is saying, I think, exactly the same as what Buddha said, and what Dogen said about developing of body and mind.
Isn't there also, there's a teaching, was it Jiji Muge?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like one thing does not hinder the other?
G is the opposition of D. D is usually translated as a principle, and G is phenomena. So Jiji Muge means phenomenal things doesn't disturb each other. That means everything is function as one. Yeah, that is the same idea. Jiji Muge is basic. Originally taught in, I think, Kegon or Fayan school, and accepted by Zen teachers. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have the ceremony.